My name is Daniel. I'm 32 years old, and I live in a quiet town called Riverton. I run a small company I built from nothing. Life is finally stable. But when I was a boy, life was not stable at all. It was painful. Most of that pain came from my father. When I was a child, he made me feel small. He shouted when I made mistakes. He called me useless. He said I was lazy and stupid. Even when I tried my best, it was never enough for him. I still remember one day when I was 12. I got the best score in my math class. I ran home, smiling, holding the paper in my hand. "Dad, look, I got the highest grade," I said. He looked at it for 2 seconds and said, "Why not 100? 98 means you failed somewhere." Then he walked away. I stood there, frozen. My sisters were laughing in the living room. He hugged them and said how wonderful they were. But he never hugged me. Not once. My mother was kind, but she didn't stop him. My sisters were sweet, but they got all his smiles. I was the target. As I grew older, I worked harder. I wanted him to be proud of me. I studied late. I joined karate. I wanted to be strong. At 18, I gave a speech as the best student in my school. Everyone clapped. My teachers cried. But when I looked for him in the crowd, he wasn't there. He didn't come. Years passed. At 26, I opened my own company. It was not easy, but I did it. My mother came to visit and smiled with pride. My sisters said, "We're so proud of you." But from him, nothing. Sometimes I thought I hated him. Maybe I did. But now, years later, my mother and sisters and I are close again. I love them. They love me. Then last year, everything changed. My father got cancer. His body became weak. The doctors said he didn't have long. At first, I felt nothing. No pain, no sadness. Only emptiness. I thought, good. He deserves it. But then came the message. He wanted to see me. Not my sisters. Not my mother. Me. When I heard that, I laughed bitterly. Now, after all these years, my mother begged me. My sisters cried. Even my wife said gently,
"Maybe you should go, Daniel. Just once."
but I didn't want to. Every part of me said no. Only my oldest sister, Emma, understood. She remembered his shouting, his cruel words. She said,
You don't have to go if you don't want to. I'll tell them to stop.
Last week, Emma and I met at a small cafe. She held my hand and asked,
Do you want to talk about it?
for the first time in years, I cried. Not small tears, deep, shaking ones. I can't do it, I said. I hate him. He broke something inside me. She hugged me.
It's okay. You don't have to go.
But that night, lying in bed, I couldn't sleep. A question burned inside me. What if I don't go? What if I regret it later? I still don't know what to do. Before I share the rest of my story, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening from? It gives me strength to know someone is hearing my words, someone who understands. Please tell me in the comments, I would really love to know. The pressure grew stronger every day. My mother called every evening. My sisters sent long messages. Even at work, my phone buzzed again and again. Please, Daniel, just one visit. Please. I tried to ignore it. I tried to stay busy. But deep down, I knew the truth. At some point, I would go. Not for him. For me. To end the story with my own eyes. One Sunday morning, I told my wife, I think I'll go. Alone. She looked at me with concern.
Are you sure?
I don't want anyone there. Not Mom, not the girls. Just me and him. She nodded slowly.
If you change your mind, you can walk out. Remember, you don't owe him anything.
Her words gave me strength. The hospital was quiet when I arrived. The air smelled of disinfectant. The lights were bright, but the hallway felt cold. My steps echoed as I walked toward his room. My hands were shaking. When I reached the door, I stopped. For a second, I almost turned around. But then I took a deep breath and pushed it open. And there he was. The man who had made me feel useless for so many years was lying in a hospital bed, small and weak. Tubes covered his arms. His face looked pale. His eyes were closed. For a moment, I didn't feel hate. I didn't even feel anger. I just felt nothing. This wasn't the strong, cruel man from my childhood. This was just an old, broken man. I sat down beside the bed. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. I waited. Finally, his eyes opened. He turned his head slightly and whispered.
You came.
I nodded but didn't answer. We sat in silence. The air felt heavy. My heart was beating fast. Then I said quietly, You know this is the last time we'll see each other, right? He closed his eyes.
I know.
Something inside me broke. My voice grew louder. Then tell me why. Why now? Why call me after all these years? After everything? He didn't speak for a while. Then, slowly, he said,
For your mother. She wanted this. She never said it, but I know she wanted it.
I stared at him. So this isn't about me? This isn't about you finally wanting to see your son? He shook his head weakly.
No.
My chest burned. My hands turned into fists. Then tell me one more thing, I said. Why did you treat me like that? Why did you make me feel like I was nothing? He looked straight into my eyes. His voice was flat.
I never wanted a son.
The words hit me like fire.
I tried.
He continued.
When you were born, I tried to care, but I couldn't. I wanted to give you up, but your mother said no. So I just stopped caring.
I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was 12 again, holding that math paper, waiting for him to say he was proud of me. I wanted so badly for you to see me, I whispered. Just once. To say that you were proud. He didn't answer. He just looked at the ceiling. I stood up. That's all I needed to know. I walked out of the room. My vision was blurry with tears. When I reached the parking lot, I broke down. I leaned on my car and cried until I couldn't anymore. I thought going there would bring peace. Instead, it broke me open. But deep inside, I knew one thing, it was over. He would never have power over me again. I drove home in silence. The city lights blurred through my tears. My hands shook on the wheel, but I kept driving. When I reached my street, I stopped the car and just sat there. I felt empty, but also full of fire. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But I was too tired. When I finally walked into the apartment, my wife was waiting. She stood up quickly.
How was it?
She asked softly. I dropped my keys on the table. It was worse than I thought. She came closer.
Did he say anything?
I gave a small, bitter laugh. Yes. He said he never wanted a son. He never cared about me. That's it. Her face froze. She reached for my hand.
Oh, Daniel.
The tears came again. I leaned on her shoulder. All these years, I thought maybe he would change. Maybe deep down, he loved me. But no. He just didn't care. She stroked my hair gently.
You didn't deserve that. Not as a boy, not as a man.
Her words were kind, but the pain stayed. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing his voice. I never wanted a son. The next morning, my phone buzzed again. Messages from my mother and sisters. Did you go? What did he say? Was it good? I didn't reply. I couldn't. Later that day, Emma called. Her voice was calm but worried.
Did you see him?
Yes, I whispered.
And?
I told her everything. Every cruel word. Every cold look. When I finished, she was silent for a long time. Then she said,
I'm so sorry. I wish I could take that pain away.
I wiped my face. I thought maybe he would ask for forgiveness. But he didn't. He just confirmed everything I always feared. Emma's voice broke.
Listen, Daniel. His failure is not your failure. You are not the problem. He was.
I wanted to believe her. But I still felt like that little boy, waiting for love that never came. Days passed. I went to work, but I moved like a ghost. People talked, but I barely heard them. One evening, my wife sat me down. She took my face in her hands.
You can't let him keep hurting you.
She said,
He already stole your childhood. Don't let him steal your life too.
Her words hit deep. Was I still giving him power? I wanted to be strong. I wanted to say, no, I'm free. But I wasn't. A few days later, my mother came to see me. She looked tired, her eyes red from crying.
Daniel, please talk to me.
She said. We sat at the kitchen table. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Why, Mom? I asked. Why did you let him treat me that way? Tears filled her eyes.
I was afraid. I thought staying quiet would make things easier. I thought you were strong enough to survive it. And you were. But I see now that I was wrong.
I looked at her. My heart hurt. I loved her, but I was angry too. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said quietly. She nodded, tears falling down her cheeks.
I understand. But I loved you then, and I love you now.
I turned away. My chest felt heavy. That night, I went outside alone. The air was cold. I looked up at the stars and whispered, "What now? What do I do with this pain?" I thought about my father's words, about my mother's tears. about my sisters who only wanted peace. Then I thought about the kind of father I wanted to be one day. I will never be like him, I whispered. Never. But deep inside, one question still stayed with me. How do I let go of a man who never loved me?
The story continues in 10 seconds. Pause the video to review the new vocabulary and answer the quiz questions.
A week later, the call came. It was early morning. My phone rang once, twice. When I saw Emma's name on the screen, I already knew. I answered, and before she said a word, I could hear the quiet in her voice.
He's gone.
She whispered. For a moment, I didn't move. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the wall. My father was dead. No goodbye. No apology. Just silence. After I hung up, my wife came into the room and saw my face. She didn't ask anything. She just sat beside me and held my hand. For a long time, we didn't speak. I thought I would feel something, relief, anger, grief, but I felt nothing. Later that day, my mother called. Her voice was tired.
The funeral is on Friday. Will you come?
I didn't answer right away. Mom, I said quietly, I don't know if I can stand there and pretend.
You don't have to pretend.
She said softly.
Just come as you are.
The day of the funeral was gray. The sky looked heavy, and a soft rain fell. I stood at the edge of the small cemetery, away from the others. My sisters were there, holding each other. My mother stood near the coffin, crying quietly. I kept my distance. I wasn't ready to say goodbye to someone who was never really there. When the priest finished speaking, people began to leave. My mother walked up to me. She looked small, older somehow.
Thank you for coming.
She said. I came for you, I answered. She smiled weakly.
That's enough.
Then she walked away, leaving me standing in front of the grave. I stared at the ground. The wet soil. The wooden cross. His name written clearly. I whispered, "You never wanted me. But I'm still here. And I forgive you." I forgave him not because he deserved it, but because I didn't want to carry him anymore. I closed my eyes. For the first time in years, my chest felt lighter. The pain was still there, but it wasn't controlling me. It was just part of the story. That night, at home, I wrote a letter. Not for him, but for myself. You did the best you could. You survived. You grew. You are not your father's silence. You are not his anger. You are your own voice. I folded the paper and placed it inside a box with old photos of my childhood, the ones I had always avoided looking at. When I opened them this time, I didn't see a boy who wasn't loved. I saw a boy who kept going. And that boy became the man I am now. Weeks passed. Life slowly returned to normal. But something had changed inside me. I started running in the mornings. I began writing again, stories, letters, sometimes just thoughts. Each word felt like a piece of freedom. One evening, my wife asked,
"Do you ever think about him?"
"Sometimes," I said, "but not with anger anymore. Just with understanding." She smiled softly.
"That means you've healed."
I nodded. Maybe not fully, but enough to live. And that is my story. Before I go, I want to ask you something. Have you ever carried pain from someone who should have loved you but didn't? How did you move forward? Please share with me in the comments. I would love to hear your stories.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share. You can watch the next story here or explore our playlist for more inspiring stories. And don't forget to subscribe. More emotional stories for learning English are coming soon.